rude. These are some celebrities who have exposed the rudest, meanest, crudest celebrities they've ever met. Sharon Osbourne versus Ashton Kutcher. Sharon called Ashton the rudest celebrity she's ever met. She has never been to, one to mask her true feelings, and she got very candid about her worst experiences with a celebrity, which happens to be Ashton Kutcher. While playing a game called Stirring the Pot in an E! News segment, she started to talk about him, although at first she didn't even remember his name. She said, the guy that's married to an actress, and he used to do that 70s show. Her daughter, Kelly Osbourne, reminded her that, it was Ashton Kutcher, and Sharon confirmed that, yeah, that's who she meant. She said, yes, oh, rude little boy. She went on to call Kutcher a dastardly little thing, whatever that means, and she didn't actually offer any further details about what he did that made her find him so rude, but that's exactly why the internet exists. So back in 2018, Sharon sat down with the late Larry King, who asked her whether she'd ever done an interview on The Talk that didn't go the way she expected. For reference, she was a co-host on the CBS talk show The Talk from 2010 to 2021. She said to Larry, we've had a couple of meanies. For me, everybody's take is different. Somebody can come in and I can go, that was amazing, and the other girls will go, do you think? But I didn't get on with one guy. That was Ashton Kutcher. King called Kutcher a tech guy, seemingly in reference to his early investments in companies like Uber and Airbnb, but Sharon clarified that he's an actor. She continued to say, I didn't get on with him at all. As King informed her that Kutcher was once the highest paid actor on television, Sharon rolled her eyes and said, Lordy Lord. When asked what she didn't like about the actor, she claimed that he has a bad attitude, which she acknowledged may have been because she mispronounced his name during his appearance on The Talk. She recalled it and said, so he was mad and he comes on with an attitude and he goes, and what are you? What have you done in the industry? And I was like, kid, don't start with me because I'm gonna eat you up and crap you out. I was just like, you don't know what you're dealing with, kid. Kutcher has never once commented on the alleged beef between him and Sharon and likely never will. A lot of fans, after the incident didn't actually take Sharon seriously because apparently she's known for being awful herself. One person on social media said, I believe most of the things said about Ashton, but this coming from her is hilarious. And another person shared a story saying she hired the company I worked for one time and she was absolutely horrible to deal with. We still laugh about it. Well, based off these reports, I guess kettle meet pot. JoJo Siwa versus Candace Cameron Bure. Well, whatever happened to predictability? The milkman, the paperboy, the evening TV? Well, no one would have predicted this beef. Certainly not me. But yes, JoJo Siwa, known for being on Dance Moms as a kid and known for being just, JoJo Siwa as an adult, called out Candace Cameron, known for playing DJ Tanner on the 90s hit show Full House and for playing in like every Hallmark Channel Christmas movie for the past 7 years, was called out by JoJo. JoJo said that Candace was the rudest celebrity she's ever met after Candace denied her an autograph when JoJo was just 11 years old. JoJo also shared people who she would never invite on her podcast and basically anybody named Candace. On an episode of her iHeartRadio podcast, JoJo Siwa Now, she revealed celebrities that she's not messing with. And at first she said Candace Owens. She explained how Candace Owens questioned her individuality when she first came out and continued to speak negatively about her and how she refused any further communication with her. The following person she revealed she would never invite was Candace Cameron Bure. 2 years after their very public beef, their viral feud began actually in July of 2022 as part of a TikTok challenge in what JoJo described as an accident. JoJo recalled the moment she was 11 and asked Bure for a photo, but was denied because it just wasn't a good time for her. However, Candace still took photos with other people instead. JoJo said it really was an accident and that she didn't mean for the whole thing to go viral. She said, to me, it was personally the rudest celebrity I'd ever met. She wasn't nice to me when I met her. That doesn't mean she's an awful person. That just means that she was the rudest person that I've ever met. Whatever, I flashed the photo quick and thought no one was going to ever see it. JoJo admitted that she felt guilty about the viral beef since they had mutual friends, but that quickly went away. She did continue to say, but then I found out some things about about Candace that I was like, wait, this is actually pretty valid. And I found out some shady things that she has done and some, shady organizations that she has worked with. It goes back to wanting to stand up for my people, but not wanting to create drama that doesn't necessarily need to be there. Candace initially apologized for the rude interaction, but JoJo took issue with her comments about joining the Great American Family Network in November of 2022, in which Candace said she would keep traditional marriage at the core in response to a question about the inclusion of same-sex marriages on the channel. Ultimately, JoJo has now said that there's no real shade anymore between the stars, but she still wouldn't have her on her podcast. To be honest, I really don't think Candace cares. Ronda Rousey versus Justin Bieber. Ronda Rousey is a UFC champion, and so the last thing anyone wants to do is get on her bad side, but leave it to Justin Bieber to do just that. The MMA champ told Cosmopolitan magazine that the pop star pissed her off at the Cannes Film Festival when he was rude to her little sister. So Rousey explained how her sibling was pretty unfazed by anyone at the festival with the exception of Bieber. Unfortunately, when Rousey went up to the singer to ask for a photo for her little sis, the Biebs completely blew her off. She said, Justin Bieber was actually really rude to my little sister at the Cannes Film Festival. My little sister is very hard to impress, and so she really didn't care about anyone who was there, but I wanted to spend some time with her. She continued to say Justin Bieber was over there taking some pictures with some ladies, and she suddenly got really excited and she was like, do you think you would want to take a picture with me? And I was like, don't worry about it. Look at him. He's such a sweetheart. However, when Rousey walked over and asked for a photo, he gave her the cold shoulder. She continued to say he was like, I've already taken 1 billion pictures today, okay? 1 billion. Rousey then recalled that he walked off and just totally snubbed her little sister. And she looks at me and she's like on the verge of tears and she goes, I'm no longer a believer. At that moment, Rousey admits that she too stopped believing. Justin actually once addressed Ronda's remarks in an interview with Entertainment Tonight. During the conversation, Bieber claimed he actually had no recollection of those events. He said, I guess supposedly she asked for a picture with her sister or something, and I guess I said no. He continued to say, I don't remember this happening, so Ronda, I'm sorry, don't kick my butt. Spencer Pratt versus Lisa Kudrow. Spencer Pratt and Lisa Kudrow have been involved in a celebrity feud, with Pratt calling Kudrow like the rudest celebrity he's ever met. Pratt made the comment in a TikTok video, and Bethany Frankel, a reality star, agreed with him. In 2009, Pratt and his wife Heidi Montag, both of whom you may know from the show The Hills, that was a mid-2000s reality type show that showcased a bunch of rich kids living in California, wearing Hollister and smelling like an Abercrombie & Fitch store, were invited to an elite celebrity party. Kudrow, who you know famously for her role as Phoebe in the show Friends, approached Pratt and Montag. Now, Lisa told Heidi to get away from Pratt as soon as possible because she thought he was going to unalive her because he had the eyes of a maniac. Montag waited to see if Kudrow was joking, but Kudrow didn't laugh and just walked away, which honestly is really funny to me because I'm imagining that whole scenario in my head and it's just chef's kiss, And to clarify, DV is not funny or a laughing matter, but just the randomness of this all is hilarious. Pratt said that this was the rudest moment he's ever experienced in his life, which says a lot, while also not saying that much, to be honest. However, one celebrity, Bethany Frankel, had Pratt's back, saying, that's crazy, yeah, she was on my talk show and I had a crazy experience with her also. But Diane Keane, for whatever reason, felt the need to chime in on this and actually defended Lisa Kudrow, saying nothing but positive things about her. My assumption is that Lisa was joking, but when they didn't catch on to the joke, she just decided to walk away, which is again hilarious in its own right. Many people online have said that Lisa is known to actually be a bit of an a-hole sometimes, but agreed that Spencer indeed does have crazy eyes. So therefore, if her concern, was legit, it's warranted.
These are the celebrities who let their mean behavior cost them everything. Kanye West went from musical genius to walking drama faster than you can say, graduation. Kanye West, once had the world at his feet. He wasn't just a rapper. He was a cultural force, setting trends and redefining music. But somewhere along the way, his mic drops turned into PR disasters. Fans stuck by him through outbursts, wild interviews, and even that Taylor Swift moment. But his recent behavior? Yeah, even the most loyal fans started hitting the unfollow button. From debated political stances to jaw-dropping comments about history, Kanye seemed determined to push every boundary, just not in a good way. His anti-Semitic remarks, career ending, Adidas, Balenciaga, and Gap all dropped him like a bad beat. Even fans who once defended his creative genius found themselves deleting playlists and selling merch. The man who once claimed to be a god in the music industry is now struggling to keep his empire from crumbling. At this rate, Kanye might be the only one left attending his next listening party. From America's sweetheart to Hollywood's coldest, Ellen's fall was anything but kind. For years, Ellen was daytime TV royalty, dancing her way into millions of hearts with feel-good moments and celebrity pranks. But behind the scenes, not so cheerful. In 2020, her empire took a nosedive when former staff members exposed the alleged toxic culture of the Ellen DeGeneres show. Claims of workplace bullying, intimidation, and a not-so-kind environment. Stories poured in about employees being not treated well, facing unfair consequences, and even being told not to make eye contact with her. Yikes. And when big names like Dakota Johnson subtly hinted at Ellen's less than sunny side, the internet had a field day. Despite a public apology and some serious damage control, the scandal stuck like gum on a shoe. Viewers tuned out, sponsors backed away, and her once beloved show wrapped up for good in 2022 after 19 seasons. Turns out, a smile and a dance can only cover so much. Leah went from Broadway darling to Hollywood's biggest diva, and not in a good way. Leah meekly became a household name playing Rachel Berry on Glee, a character who was talented, ambitious, and, well, a bit of a nightmare. Turns out, life imitated art. In 2020, Samantha Ware, a Glee co-star, called Leah out for making her time on set a living hell. And that was just the beginning. Other cast members backed up the claims, sharing stories of silent treatment, snide remarks, and downright mean girl behavior. Some even said Leah treated extras like they didn't exist, literally refusing to acknowledge them. Yikes. The backlash was swift. She lost brand deals, and the internet took turns roasting her. In true damage control mode, Leah issued an apology, saying she had grown and learned. But fans weren't buying it. Even her attempt at a comeback on Broadway's Funny Girl couldn't fully erase the reputation. James Corden played the lovable goof on TV, but off camera, not so charming. For years, James won over audiences with carpool karaoke and his cheeky British humor. But in 2022, his nice guy image crashed when restaurant owner Keith McNally publicly banned him from the famous NYC spot Balthazar, calling him a tiny cretin of a man. Ouch. The reason? James allegedly threw a fit over an omelet. Yes, an omelet, yelling at staff and making a scene over a minor mistake. And once that door opened, the floodgates burst. Former employees, servers, and even TV crew members came forward with their own stories of James being rude, dismissive, and just plain unpleasant. The contrast between his bubbly on-screen persona and his reported real-life behavior left fans feeling duped. James issued an apology after trying to deny it first. But the damage was done. His late-night show eventually wrapped, and his Hollywood reputation, not exactly in high demand. J.K. Rowling wrote about magic, but her squabbles, not so enchanting. For years, J.K. was the ultimate literary queen, creating a world that shaped childhoods and sparked a global fandom. But in 2019, the magic dimmed when her social media posts and essays on gender identity sparked outrage. What started as a few eyebrow-raising tweets quickly turned into a full-blown debate, with many accusing her of being dismissive of marginalized communities. The fallout? Massive. The actors who brought Harry Potter to life, Daniel, Emma, and Rupert, publicly distanced themselves. Fan pages dedicated to the wizarding world outright stated they no longer supported her views. Even bookstores that once proudly stocked Harry Potter began reconsidering their displays. Despite the backlash, J.K. doubled down, releasing lengthy essays defending her stance. The divide became so deep that even Hogwarts Legacy, a game based on her beloved books, launched with fans debating whether supporting the game meant supporting her. Some still adore her work, while others have permanently turned their backs. Amber Heard's biggest role, the most talked about courtroom drama in Hollywood history. For years, Amber was climbing the Hollywood ladder, starring in big-budget films like Aquaman. But in 2022, her career took a nosedive when her defamation trial with Johnny Depp became global entertainment. With cameras capturing every second, the courtroom turned into a reality show, and the internet became judge, jury, and meme factory. Testimony, recordings, and viral TikTok edits painted Amber as unreliable. and public opinion flipped faster than a Hollywood reboot. Memes flooded social media, the hashtag #justice for Johnny Depp trended worldwide, and even makeup brands jumped in to fact-check her claims. The damage? Massive. A petition to remove her from Aquaman 2 racked up over 4 million signatures, and her screen time in the sequel reportedly got slashed to almost nothing. Even after the trial ended, her Hollywood future looked shakier than a low-budget sequel. While she's since moved to Spain and keeps a lower profile, the internet never forgets. Joe Rogan went from podcast king to internet punching bag, faster than you can say, "Pull that up, Jamie." Joe built a media empire with the Joe Rogan Experience, known for deep dive interviews and wild conversations. But as his audience grew, so did the criticism. Things got messy during the pandemic when he gave airtime to questionable medical takes that made scientists and health experts collectively facepalm. Suddenly, his podcast wasn't just casual chats, it was making headlines for all the wrong reasons. Then came the internet's favorite thing, old clips. A compilation surfaced showing Joe using identity-related slurs over the years, and the backlash hit like a freight train. Even celebs who once backed him, like Dwayne Johnson, quickly pulled a U-turn. Spotify, which had dropped a reported $100 million on him, had to clean up the mess, removing episodes and scrambling for damage control. Despite it all, Joe still has firm supporters, but his reputation? It took a serious dent. Turns out, when you have the biggest microphone in the world, people will listen, and not always in a good way. Some celebrities ruin their careers with scandals. Jenny did it with science denial. Jenny went from 90s it girl to daytime TV personality to, let's just say, a very questionable health expert. Once loved for her humor and charm, she took a sharp left turn when she became the loudest celebrity voice against vaccines. Her claims, based on personal belief rather than science, sent shockwaves through public health discussions. Despite mountains of research debunking the idea, Jenny doubled down, using talk shows, books, and interviews to spread her message. And it worked, for all the wrong reasons. Parents listened, vaccine hesitancy spiked, and doctors collectively facepalmed. Her influence was so strong that even years later, she's still cited as a key reason misinformation spread like wildfire. As the science world clapped back, Jenny's reputation took a nosedive. Instead of being remembered for her comedy or TV gigs, she became that celebrity people bring up when discussing why celebrities shouldn't give medical advice. The irony? If she had just stuck to making people laugh, her career might not have caught the wrong kind of fever. Chevy Chase was comedy royalty until his attitude made him the court jester of bad behavior. Chevy was once the golden boy of comedy, stealing scenes on Saturday Night Live and cracking up audiences in Caddyshack and National Lampoon's Vacation. But behind the laughs, not so funny. Turns out working with Chevy was about as enjoyable as stepping on a Lego barefoot. Stories of his on-set behavior stretch back decades. Fellow comedians called him unbearable. Community creator Dan Harmon openly despised him. And SNL castmates have described him as rude, dismissive, and just plain mean. Even legendary tough guy Bill Murray allegedly threw hands with him back in the day. Fans who grew up loving his slapstick charm started seeing the man behind the mask, and it wasn't pretty. With reports of him belittling co-stars and making questionable remarks, the once beloved funny man found himself on the wrong side of Hollywood. His legacy in comedy is still undeniable, but let's be real, Chevy's reputation aged like expired milk. And at this point, even his old characters might not want to be in the same room as him. Alec Baldwin's temper is so infamous that it deserves its own IMDb page. Alec has had an impressive career: 30 Rock, SNL, and a voice that could narrate a documentary on drying paint and still make it interesting. But when he's not acting, he's, well, not exactly winning Nicest Guy awards. For years, Alec's temper has been legendary. Paparazzi? He's shoved them. Airline attendants? He's gotten kicked off flights for refusing to stop playing Words with Friends. His voicemail to his own daughter? Yikes. And then came the Rust tragedy in 2021, a devastating accident that left many questioning his responsibility. Instead of handling it with quiet reflection, Alec did interviews, denied fault, and seemed more focused on clearing his name than anything else. Fans who once loved his charm started seeing a different side, a man who always seemed to be one argument away from a headline. Hollywood forgives a lot, but when your public persona starts looking more like an action movie villain than a beloved actor, that's a tough sell.
From filing lawsuits to being straight up selfish, here's our list of entitled celebrities no one wants to work with in 2025. Now, Khloe Kardashian is facing a lot of heat for how she responded to the LA wildfires. Khloe went off on LA Mayor Karen Bass after the LA fire chief went on Fox 11 LA and claimed that Karen did not adequately support their department by ordering budget cuts, among other things, and that compromised the department's abilities to fight the wildfires. Now, although Khloe criticized Karen, the Kardashians are known for wasting water themselves and were heavily criticized in June 2022 when Khloe's Calabasas home used roughly 101,000 gallons of water over the allotted limit. Now, her sister Kim's properties used 332,000 excess gallons of water. One user on Twitter wrote in response to Khloe's post, "Instead of Khloe Kardashian talking BS about Mayor Bass, people should be talking about how she and her sister used an excess of over 300,000 gallons of water in just 1 month during a drought." They added, "How about the water waster, just STFU." Then it was also discovered that Khloe and her family in total donated $2,500 for meals for firefighters. Now, a number of photos shared by the restaurant saw happy firefighters holding boxes of food, and another snap saw food containers on a table with a receipt that showed the total for the meal order come to $2,505.43. "We proudly delivered meals to several fire stations today. Thank you to the frontline members for your dedication to your communities. A special thank you to the Kardashian family for funding the meals. Your generosity knows no bounds." Now, the restaurant tagged her sisters Kim Kardashian, Kourtney Kardashian, Kendall Jenner, and her brother Rob Kardashian, and their mom Kris Jenner. Khloe then reshared the post to her stories, writing, "My family and I wanted to feed a few firehouses today, and we couldn't think of a better restaurant to reach out to than other at Carousel Restaurant, our favorite Armenian restaurant. They whipped up hundreds of individual meals for so many firefighters, volunteers, first responders, and we could not be more thankful. Thank you for putting your lives on the line for us." Then Khloe was seen making posts asking people for donations to go towards people affected by the fires. Now, what's crazy is Khloe specifically has a net worth of $35 million. Now, it's just not a good look at all, and many fans have been calling her out. It seems like they did it to try to look good and not to actually help. Then there's Diddy. He was arrested in September 2024 for running a crime ring and has been denied bail 3 times since then. While in jail, he's been hit with lawsuit after lawsuit of people coming forward claiming they've been mistreated and taken advantage of by the star. Now, all of this information coming out has rocked Hollywood, with many people shocked to hear about this as they had no idea. Now, a lot of Diddy's crimes were committed at his infamous parties that many celebs were in attendance for. Now, the cast of The View spoke out about what happened, with Whoopi Goldberg calling Diddy's 14-page indictment excessive and disturbing during the show's September 17th episode. Sunny Hostin said Diddy was involved in mob-like behavior, referring to the indictment. Now, artist Ray J was recently interviewed by Chris Cuomo on News Nation's Cuomo, and he opened up about his relationship with Diddy, having gone to many of his parties. Ray J was adamant, though, that everything at his parties was normal, and the stuff people are finding out, like, "I've never been in rooms that people are talking about, and I never knew they existed," he said. "And a lot of people in the industry can agree with me on that sense," he continued. "We just need to use this as a moment to reflect, not to criticize, but find a better way to move forward as leaders, individuals in this culture that we're in right now. We've all been around him, at least in my era, and have looked up to him." He continued, "And this situation is super unfortunate, but it's important to learn a lesson right now and ensure the next generation understands how to move differently with transparency and integrity." The artist said that although the previous generation of performers needs to be accountable for their behavior. Now, many celebrities have begun to distance themselves from Diddy, and even if Diddy does get out of jail somehow, I don't think anyone will ever want to be associated with the star ever again. 2025 has been a rough start for both actors Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. Now, they are currently both feuding and having lawsuits against each other, and the whole situation is really messy. At the end of December, Blake filed a complaint with the California Civil Rights Department about him and his conduct on set, and then she filed a lawsuit in New York federal court, which was brought against Justin, as well as the It Ends With Us films production company, Wayfarer Studios, its CEO Jamie Heath, Baldoni's publicist Jennifer Bell, and crisis communications representative Melissa Nathan. Now, Blake is alleging that Justin caused her to suffer severe emotional distress and pain, humiliation, embarrassment, harassment, belittlement, frustration, and mental anguish, in addition to lost wages. In the lawsuit, Blake claimed that Justin hired a crisis PR team to smear her in retaliation for her raising the issues. Then the New York Times did a story about this, and Justin and his team filed a lawsuit against them for $250 million. And now, Justin's team also filed a lawsuit against Blake and Ryan Reynolds, her husband, for $400 million. According to the suit, Blake's husband Ryan was not contracted or hired to work on the film, but became central to production conflicts. Now, since then, Justin has been trying to make Blake look bad in the media by posting conversations they had, posting raw footage of their film, and even releasing a voice note he sent to her. Now, some of this so-called evidence is swaying some people to be on Justin's side, while others think it's proof that Blake is telling the truth and that Justin was being weird. And let me just say, I listened to the whole 6-minute voice note he sent to Blake, and it was creepy and unprofessional, to say the least. Justin also released a website where he sent a link to the amended complaint filed on January 31st, and it contains a timeline of events outlining what he says happened on the set It Ends With Us, including corresponding text messages, emails, and a statement that Justin has said he was pressured into releasing by Ryan and Blake that would see him take the blame for the troubled production of the movie. It's all very strange that he's airing this out publicly, because if there's a trial, if there is one, it will be decided by the courts, not the public. It's all just so messy, it makes both of them look bad, and it probably freaks out a lot of potential filmmakers. And then we have Kanye West. He started out the year with a bang, and not in a good way. He's known for being controversial and moving to the beat of his own drum, but he may be going too far. Now, Kanye is known for social media posts, and just this week he made a crude post about Kamala Harris and has started speaking out about Taylor Swift again. Now, prior to the Grammys, he unfollowed everyone on Instagram with the exception of Taylor Swift. He then shared a screenshot of his following list on his Instagram story, highlighting it to his followers. Now, this is just weird because him and Taylor have had a lifelong feud, and Taylor has made it very clear that she doesn't want anything to do with him. Now, he's just out here harassing her again, and it's gross. Taylor is one of the biggest names in the music industry, and celebrities should want to be associated with her compared to him. Now, there's also the fact that Kanye and his wife Bianca Censori made quite a scene at the Grammys. Now, Kanye was wearing an all-black outfit, and Bianca was in a long black fur coat, but then she removed her coat, revealing her nearly naked look with a nude huge sheer dress without any undergarments on. Now, she was pretty much naked, and it was so shocking to everyone there. Now, there's videos of this interaction, and people have made out what the couple were saying to each other. While posing for photographers, Kanye said, "You're making a scene now," to which she nodded in agreement. He then added, "Make a scene, I'll say it'll make so much sense," before telling his wife to drop it behind you and then turn. "I got you," he reportedly consoled Bianca with, who responded, "All right, let's go." And then she dropped the coat, shocking everyone. Now, everyone's talking about it, but it's honestly mostly negative. Many people think Kanye's using Bianca to do these outlandish things and that she doesn't actually want to be a part of it. Some people have been calling Kanye out for his behavior, but he didn't seem to care, as he issued a cryptic response on social media. Posting on his Instagram story, the rapper shared a low-quality image of himself from the red carpet, and in the pic, Kanye is seen grinning ear to ear in his dark sunglasses and sticking out his tongue. Now, with his behavior getting more and more unhinged, he could become a huge liability. Well, that's all for our list of entitled celebrities no one wants to work with in 2025 and why. Now, are we forgetting anyone? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. I'm your host Emily, and we'll see you next time. From Johnny Depp and Amber Heard to Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, here's our list of celebrities who sued their co-stars and made millions. Now, starting off, we have to talk about the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni situation. They are currently in the middle of a lawsuit right now, and the public have been going back and forth on whose side they're on. Now, Blake and Justin were lead actors in the film It Ends With Us, and Blake produced it while Justin directed it. Fans noticed that something was off with the pair at the premiere, as they were not spotted together at the red carpet, and they didn't do any joint interviews together. Now, for part of the premiere, Justin was missing, and we actually just recently found out that he and his friends and family were sent to spend time in the basement because, in Justin's words, Blake didn't want him to be seen. There were then rumors that Justin and other men on set acted inappropriately towards Blake, and that's part of the reason why they didn't get along. Now, other sources claim that Blake took over production and didn't let Justin do his job as a director. Now, in December, Blake filed an official complaint against him with the California Civil Rights Department, and then she filed a lawsuit in New York federal court, which was brought against Justin as well as the film's production company, Wayfarer Studios, its CEO Jamie Heath, Baldoni's publicist Jennifer Abel, and crisis communications representative Melissa Nathan. Now, this is when the drama started, as then the New York Times did a piece on her lawsuit, making Justin and his team look bad, so he decided to sue the New York Times for $250 million. Then, at the beginning of January, Justin came out with a lawsuit against Blake and her husband Ryan Reynolds for $400 million. He's alleging that Blake defamed him and created a smear campaign against him, which in actuality we have proof that he and his team were running a smear campaign against her. Then, just this week, Justin released 10 minutes of raw footage of an incident that Blake said that happened on set. People online are now divided, with some saying this makes Blake a liar, while others say that it helps her case. Now, Blake's team has said that this helps their case, but the internet can't seem to get on the same page about this. Many people, though, are questioning why Justin and his team have brought all of this to the internet, as Blake is focused on proving her side in the courts, while it appears that Justin is trying to sway the general public. Either way, it's just messy, and I think it's just the beginning. It'll be interesting to see what eventually comes out of this all in court, but I do know that internet users will continue to share their thoughts and wild theories on it. Then there's YouTubers Jeff Wittick and David Dobrik. Now, this all happened due to an incident they had while filming a vlog in June 2020. David was operating heavy machinery, which he shouldn't have been doing at all, and Jeff got hurt. Following the incident, Jeff said that his skull was left shattered in 9 places, that he broke his foot and hip, tore a ligament in his leg, and he almost lost his eye. Now, since the incident 5 years later, he's still getting surgeries due to the injuries. David, though, was a horrible friend after all of this when it was said and done. So Jeff decided to sue David for general negligence and intentional tort, as he seeks $10 million in damages for the stunt. He's alleged that David's actions caused him to rack up hospital bills from extensive surgeries and force him to miss out on work, according to the suit. Now, it also claims that the stunt was David's idea. Now, David has denied this and spoken out, and Jeff has called him a liar many times. There's been a lot of back and forth with the two on social media, but it's very clear that Jeff hates David. And honestly, I don't blame him. Now, around the time of the incident, David was facing other cancellations and controversies, so with everything going on, he decided to stop vlogging and doing his podcast. Then he went 2 years without posting a vlog, but on January 9th, 2025, David returned to YouTube for the first time in 2 years, and he now has abs. Yeah, he released a video called Surprising Friends with Body Transformation, and the whole thing was mostly a highlight reel of his travels around the world as a part of his return to vlogging. Now, he also then announced that he's bringing back the Views podcast with Jason Nash. He's posting like normal now and acting like he did nothing wrong, and I honestly can't wait for them to show up in court, and I hope that Jeff gets the justice he deserves because he was treated absolutely horribly. Now, of course, we have to talk about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's trial. In 2022, Amber Heard opened up to the world in a televised trial how her ex-husband, Johnny Depp, had treated her. She had wrote an article about what she went through in their relationship without naming his name, and this made Johnny mad. Now, he ended up suing her for defamation, and she countersued him, and it was just this whole messy situation. Amber took the stand and told countless stories of Johnny mistreating her physically, mentally, and emotionally, and instead of the world believing her as a victim, they made fun of her and ridiculed her. Now, Amber was painted as a liar and doing this for attention, and the jury ended up siding with Johnny in June 2022, awarding him $15 million in damages. Now, Amber appealed the decision, but the exes settled the case in December 2022. It's been 3 years now, and she hasn't had any roles in Hollywood. In fact, she actually moved out of the States and moved permanently to a new home outside Madrid. She's bilingual in Spanish and is happy there, raising her daughter away from all the noise, a source said about her in May 2023. Now, music producer Dr. Luke was under fire for mistreating singer Kesha. After years of mistreatment, Kesha filed an explosive lawsuit against Dr. Luke in California in 2014. She accused Luke of long-term emotional, psychological, and physical mistreatment involving fat shaming. Kesha claims that Luke's treatment caused her severe depression, post-traumatic stress, social isolation, and panic attacks. Now, she requested in her lawsuit to be released from her record deal with Dr. Luke, claiming his alleged actions are a breach of contract. You see, Kesha was trying not to work with him anymore, but she was under contract, so she had to. Now, after this lawsuit, Dr. Luke filed one against Kesha for defamation. In 2016, he tweeted, "They are getting behind an allegation only motivated by money." Kesha, though, maintained that he mistreated her and said that Sony Music knew about it and turned a blind eye. Now, people then began to rally around Kesha, with other artists even speaking out. Kelly Clarkson came out and supported Kesha, telling a radio host that she was blackmailed by her record label, a Sony subsidiary, into working with Dr. Luke on Since You've Been Gone and My Life Would Suck Without You, or they would have not released her albums. Now, she then described Luke as not a good guy. Then there was a lot of back and forths between Kesha and Dr. Luke in the media and in court, but finally on June 22nd in 2023, Dr. Luke settled his defamation case with Kesha. Only God knows what happens that night, Kesha wrote in a statement. "As I always said, I cannot recount everything that happened. I'm looking forward to closing this door on this chapter of my life and beginning a new one. I wish nothing but peace to all parties involved." Now, to this day, some artists still work with Dr. Luke, like Katy Perry, which many fans find disgusting, as it's very clear that he mistreated Kesha and treated her horribly. And finally, we have Nicolas Cage and Kathleen Turner. In March 2008, Nicolas Cage sued his former Peggy Sue Got Married co-star Kathleen Turner for defamation, libel, and slander after she claimed in her autobiography, Send Yourself Roses, that he dog-napped a chihuahua and was arrested twice for driving under the influence. Now, Nicolas's lawyer said that the allegations were false and had caused damage to the claimant's personal and professional reputation. In April 2008, the judge sided with Nicolas and ordered Kathleen to pay for his legal costs and donate to the National Adult Protective Services Foundation, a United States-based charity that benefits vulnerable adults.
Golden Girl or an undercover bully? These are Blake Lively's worst moments. Blake Lively a bully? Justin Baldoni's legal team says yes, and they claim to have the receipts to prove it. The drama behind It Ends With Us isn't just on screen. Justin's lawyer, Brian Friedman, has blamed Blake of orchestrating a pattern of bullying and threats to take over creative control of the movie. According to legal filings, Blake allegedly pressured Justin into accepting her script rewrites, including a major overhaul of the rooftop meet-cute scene while using others to deliver demands on her behalf. Friedman also claims Blake and her husband, Ryan Reynolds, worked behind the scenes to push Justin out of key production decisions. Allegedly, the couple influenced studio executives and used industry connections to sideline Justin's vision for the film. Court documents detail a 224-page complaint and a 168-page timeline of events, outlining how Blake's alleged actions created a toxic work environment. Blake, however, has fired back with her own legal claims, pointing the finger at Justin for improper conduct and attempting to tarnish her reputation. So, who's the real villain here? Hollywood loves a scandal, but this one might just outshine the movie itself. Blake Lively just proved that not all friendship bracelets lead to friendship. The London premiere of It Ends With Us was supposed to be a glamorous affair, but Blake managed to stir up some unexpected drama over a bracelet. A fan excitedly handed her a friendship bracelet, a sweet nod to the trend made popular by Taylor Swift's Eras Tour. But instead of accepting it graciously, Blake reportedly told the fan, "That's so sweet, but it doesn't go with my outfit. I'll wear it later." Now, was this just an innocent fashion choice? Maybe. But the internet had other thoughts, especially since her earrings matched the bracelet perfectly. Adding fuel to the fire, her younger co-star, Isabella Ferrer, happily accepted a similar bracelet from another fan, making Blake's response look even colder in comparison. And that wasn't the only awkward moment of the night. Another clip showed Blake shushing excited fans, which some saw as dismissive. While celebrities are human and have their off moments, this premiere only added to the chatter about Blake's attitude toward her supporters. Maybe next time she should just take the bracelet and keep it moving. Blake's humor is sharp, but sometimes maybe a little too sharp. Blake Lively's humor is usually a hit until it's not. While fans love her playful online presence, some of her offhanded comments have raised eyebrows. One notable example? A viral clip where she jokingly told a fan's partner, "Hi Stephanie, you should leave him." Ouch! While some laughed it off as classic Blake sarcasm, others found it a little too cutting, especially when directed at strangers. And that wasn't the only instance. Over time, compilations have surfaced with titles like Blake Lively annoying everyone or low-key bullying moments. These videos feature moments where her humor seems to walk a fine line between playful and pointed. Whether it's teasing fellow actors in interviews or making quips that don't land well, some fans are questioning if there's a pattern. Of course, not everyone sees it that way. Many argue that Blake's humor is just dry and direct. But in an era where social media magnifies everything, even casual remarks can turn into major debates. Blake Lively and Parker Posey walked into an interview and then acted like the interviewer didn't exist. Interviews can be awkward, but this one, yikes. In a resurfaced 2016 clip, Blake and co-star Parker Posey sat down with journalist Kirsty Flaw and promptly acted like she wasn't even there. Seriously, they spent most of the time chatting between themselves, barely acknowledging her existence. Kirsty later revealed that the experience had a lasting impact, especially since she was going through personal struggles at the time. She described feeling completely ignored, with Blake and Parker making the whole exchange needlessly uncomfortable. When the clip started making rounds again during Blake's legal drama with Justin Baldoni, people had a lot to say. One commenter called it straight-up high school mean girl behavior, while another pointed out how neither actress even made proper eye contact. The whole thing gave off a serious, "you can't sit with us" energy. Of course, some fans defended Blake, saying she was just playing off Parker's eccentric energy. But let's be real, it's not that hard to be polite. If ignoring interviewers was an Olympic sport, this moment might have won gold. Blake's interviews are going viral for all the wrong reasons. Blake's interviews have been getting a second life online, and not in a good way. As clips resurface, fans are piecing together a pattern that's, well, not exactly charming. From eye-rolling at journalists to completely ignoring questions, her on-camera moments have some calling her out for being dismissive, condescending, and, at times, just plain rude. One viral example, a red carpet moment where she visibly sighed and gave a reporter a sharp "next question." Another, that infamous press junket where she and her co-star acted like the interviewer didn't exist. Add to that multiple instances of sarcastic responses, cutting people off mid-question and throwing in jokes that don't land or sting a little too much, and you've got yourself a trend. Of course, some defend her, saying she's just got a dry sense of humor, but others argue that Hollywood's charm standard isn't that high, so if you're standing out for the wrong reasons, maybe there's something to it. At this point, her PR team must be working overtime or avoiding interviews altogether. Blake's text just leaked and, let's just say, people have thoughts. Blake's texting habits are making waves. And no, it's not just about a late-night typo. In February 2025, Justin fired back at Blake's lawsuit by launching a whole website, because why not, that conveniently included some very interesting text exchanges between the two. One particular message from April 8th, 2023, had people clutching their pearls. Blake allegedly texted Justin about an intimate scene saying, "If you knew me in person longer, you'd have a sense of how flirty and yummy the ball-busting would play. It's my love language, spicy and playfully bold, never with teeth." Now, in Blake's defense, she was probably talking about acting dynamics, but the internet, not buying it. One person summed it up best. "Imagine if your husband found out you were texting your coworker this. Blake really lost her damn mind." Of course, her fans rushed in, claiming it was nothing more than a misinterpreted message. But let's be real, when you're fighting a lawsuit, maybe don't text your coworker about being flirty and yummy. Just a thought. Blake Lively's high school antics just resurfaced, and they are not cute. Blake has told some wild stories, but this one did not land well. In a resurfaced interview, she casually dropped a teenage anecdote that had the internet doing a collective double-take. Blake admitted that back in 10th grade, she and her best friend had huge crushes on some guys and decided to wait for it to disguise themselves so they could follow them unnoticed. Her solution? Bronzer. A lot of bronzer. She said, "I put bronzer all over myself in a Scary Spice fro so I thought they would think I was like a black girl and so I could stalk them." Yes, that was an actual sentence she said out loud. Needless to say, the reaction was not great. One person summed it up: "How do you tell that story with your whole chest and think it's okay?" Others pointed out that even in the early 2000s, this would have raised eyebrows. Blake has yet to address the backlash, but maybe next time she should stick to stories about awkward high school crushes that don't require a public apology tour. Blake Lively's fashion choices just sparked a debate no one saw coming. When It Ends With Us started filming, no one expected the biggest controversy to come from the wardrobe. But here we are. Blake reportedly sourced pieces from Magnolia Pearl, a fashion brand known for its poverty-core aesthetic. Think ripped fabrics, patchwork dresses, and a vibe that screams struggling artist, but at a price that only the ultra-rich can afford. Some of these effortlessly distressed outfits cost thousands of dollars. Yes, thousands, to look broke. Critics were quick to call it out, pointing out how the brand's marketing included models doing farm work in designer rags. The internet didn't hold back, with one user summing it up. "Imagine dressing like a Victorian street urchin for fun when people actually have to live like this." Yikes. While Blake hasn't addressed the backlash directly, let's just say that playing a struggling florist while wearing a $900 peasant blouse is a choice. Blake Lively's outfits might be saying more than we think. Fashion is all about making a statement, but Blake might be taking that way too literally. According to internet detectives, she's been using her wardrobe to throw shade. One of the wildest examples? She allegedly wore a Britney Spears-inspired dress on set, knowing full well that Justin Baldoni once had an awkward run-in with the pop icon. Apparently, Justin had previously shared a cringeworthy story about meeting Britney, where he got a little too excited and hugged her out of nowhere. His own words: "I think I scared her." Yeah, not exactly a career highlight, so when Blake showed up in a dress eerily similar to one of Britney's iconic looks, people started connecting the dots. Was it a coincidence? A subtle dig? A next-level power move? Fans were divided. Some saw it as harmless fun. Others, not so much. One person tweeted, "Wearing a Britney dress just to mess with someone's embarrassing past? That's some mastermind energy." Ryan Reynolds is less of a supportive husband and more of a silent accomplice to Blake. Blake and Ryan are Hollywood's golden couple, witty, stylish, and seemingly perfect. But lately, people are side-eyeing their joint actions, especially when it comes to Blake's alleged mean girl behavior. Rumors suggest Ryan wasn't just a supportive husband, he may have been actively backing Blake's behind-the-scenes moves. Some speculate that the couple together tried to influence the production of It Ends With Us in ways that weren't exactly collaborative. Whether that meant making certain calls, pushing for changes, or just being a bit too involved, people aren't letting it slide. Fans started noticing odd patterns. One tweet summed it up: "Blake and Ryan really out here acting like a Hollywood monarchy." Another added, "It's giving we run this town energy." Now, was Ryan involved, or was he just standing by his wife? Either way, some think his silence says a lot. Others, they just want Deadpool 3 to drop without drama.
Embarrassing! These celebrities have been kicked out of award shows for one reason or the other. You decide which one takes first place. First up, old dirty B word I can't say, so we will call him ODB. At the 1998 Grammys, he was kicked out of the 1998 award ceremony after bizarre and profanity-laced outbursts on stage. ODB, whose real name was Russell Jones, was a member of the Wu-Tang Clan and had been nominated for several awards that night. However, things quickly took a turn for the worse. As the presenter was announcing the winner of the Best Rap Album category, ODB suddenly stormed the stage, grabbing the microphone and launching into a rant about how he was like the real winner of the award. That feels very familiar. Like, didn't Kanye do that also? Anyway, the audience was shocked and embarrassed, and ODB was quickly escorted off stage by security. In the aftermath of the incident, ODB's team blamed the pressures of fame and the stress of the Grammy ceremony for his behavior. However, the incident marked a turning point in ODB's career, and he struggled with personal demons and substance dependence in the years that followed. Sean Young at the 2012 Oscars. Next, we have Sean Young, who was kicked out of the 2012 Academy Awards after a very bizarre incident involving a fight with a security guard. Young, who is best known for her roles in the films Blade Runner and No Way Out, had been attending the ceremony as a guest. However, things took a very weird turn for the worse when Young got into a fight with a security guard who was trying to escort her out of the building. According to eyewitnesses, Young became belligerent and started shouting at the guard, who eventually had to restrain her and call for backup. Young was actually placed under citizen's arrest and taken to the Hollywood police station. She was booked and released on $20,000 bail early the next Monday morning. After the incident, Young's publicist released a statement claiming that she had just been mistreated by the security guard and that she was planning to file a complaint. However, the incident marked a low point in Young's career, and she has since struggled to kind of regain her footing in the entertainment industry, which makes sense because honestly, I hate to say this and I hope I don't sound ridiculous, but I don't know who that woman is. She could be walking down the street. I still want to know her. Sorry to this woman. Christian Slater at the 1997 MTV Movie Awards. Christian Slater was kicked out of the MTV Movie Awards after a drunken brawl with a security guard. Slater, who was a rising star at the time, had been attending the ceremony to present an award. However, things took, again, another weird turn for the worse when Slater got into a fight with a security guard who was trying to escort him out of the building. According to some eyewitnesses, Slater was heavily intoxicated and became very combative when the guard tried to intervene. Slater's publicist released a statement apologizing for his behavior and just blaming it on excessive drinking. However, the incident marked a very low point in Slater's career. He has since, struggled to regain his spot in the entertainment world. Gary Busey at the 2008 Oscars. Gary Busey was kicked out at the 2008 Academy Awards after a very odd incident involving a fight with a photographer. Busey, who is best known for his roles in the films Buddy Holly and Point Break, had been attending the ceremony as a guest of honor. However, things took, again, another weird turn for the worse when Busey got into a fight with a photographer who was just trying to take his picture. Now, according to eyewitnesses, Busey became argumentative and started shouting at the photographer, who eventually actually had to call security. He also rushed Jennifer Garner and very inappropriately kissed her on the neck, to her surprise and everyone's. Busey's publicist released a statement apologizing for his behavior, blaming it on excessive stress. However, this marked a low point in Busey's career. We actually haven't seen much of him at all lately. Courtney Love at the 2001 Oscars. Courtney Love was kicked out of the 2001 Academy Awards after an incident involving a fight with a security guard. These celebrities love fighting guards, huh? They may be in the wrong profession. Love, who is best known as the lead singer of the rock band Hole and also famously was tied to the late Kurt Cobain, who she has a child with, had been attending the ceremony as a guest of honor as well. However, things got really strange when Love got into a really weird random fight with a security guard who was trying to escort her out of the building. According to eyewitnesses, Love became wild and started shouting at the guard, who eventually did have to call for backup. She was not invited again. Will Smith and Chris Rock at the 2022 Oscars, arguably one of the most shocking incidents in recent award show history. The altercation between Will Smith and Chris Rock at the 2022 Academy Awards. It was a night that will be remembered for years to come, and one that left many in the audience stunned and speechless. As Chris Rock took the stage to present an award, he made a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith's shaved head, saying, "Jada, I love you, G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it." Will Smith, who was seated in the audience with his wife, initially laughed at the joke. You could see him laughing, but after seeing Jada roll her eyes and obviously very visibly either upset or mad, he then got up, walked onto the stage where he slapped Chris Rock across the face pretty hard. The audience was shocked and stunned, as was I watching at home, with many people gasping in disbelief and not knowing at first if this was a bit for the show or if it was genuine. Once Will actually walked back to his seat, Chris was starting to speak, but Will shouted at him to keep his wife's name out his mouth. And he said it twice, so he meant business. It was at that point that people in the audience and at home realized that this wasn't a skit for the show. It was very, very real. Chris Rock actually handled it really professionally and with a lot of class. The incident was quickly censored on live television, although I did see it, but it sparked a heated debate on social media, with many people weighing in on whether Smith's actions were justified or not. So, he didn't actually get kicked out at that moment, although he probably should have, TBH, and he did go on to win an award and give a speech and everything, but he would afterwards be banned from attending the award ceremonies for like the next 10 years, so I guess that's fair. In the aftermath of the incident, Smith issued an apology to Rock and to the Academy, saying that his actions were unacceptable and inexcusable. Rock, for his part, has chosen not to press charges against Smith, but the incident has left a lasting impact on the entertainment industry. Kanye West and Taylor Swift at the 2009 VMAs. Next, we have Kanye West, who has had his fair share of controversy over the years. One of the most infamous incidents involving West was his outburst at the 2009 MTV Video Music Award. As Swift took the stage to accept her award, West suddenly appeared grabbing the microphone and saying, "Taylor, I'm really happy for you and I'm gonna let you finish, but Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time." The audience was shocked and embarrassed, and Swift looked visibly shaken. Now, after the incident, West faced widespread backlash, including criticism from celebrities and industry professionals. He later apologized, of course, for his behavior, but the incident marked a turning point in his career, and their beef would continue for years, with even weirder altercations involving a line in one of his songs and his ex-wife Kim Kardashian being involved. Honestly, the Taylor-Kanye drama is so 2000s, it's above us now. So yes, he didn't really get banned, but he should have been, and that's why I included him. Mariah Carey and Nicki Minaj at the 2018 VMAs. Next, we have Mariah Carey and Nicki. Now, they got into a heated argument at the 2018 MTV Video Music Awards. The incident occurred backstage where Carey and Minaj were both attending a pre-show party. According to some sources, the argument started when Minaj made a comment about Carey's music, which Carey took as a diss. Obviously, the exact details of what happened are somewhat disputed, but it's reported that the two singers got into a very heated exchange, with Minaj allegedly shouting at Carey and Carey responding with a few choice words of her own. In the aftermath of the incident, both Carey and Minaj took to social media to address the altercation, with Carey, denying that she had been shaded by Minaj, and Minaj accusing Carey of being insecure and bitter. The most iconic response was from Carey, though, who responded to an interview when asked about Nicki, like she had, what she said about J-Lo at the time was that she didn't know her. She also said, that about Nicki. Now, Mariah just don't know nobody. I love that for her. They also had a feud on American Idol where they both were judges for one season. Because of these incidents, Mariah and Nicki were not technically banned from award shows, but there were things in place to ensure they wouldn't sit next to each other, cross paths, or have an opportunity to just interact with one another on red carpets or stages. Basically, these award shows just didn't want to give any chances of issues arising. Madonna and Elton John at the 2004 Q Awards. Next, we have Madonna and Elton John, who got into a very public feud at the 2004 Q Awards. The incident occurred when John actually made a comment about Madonna's music, saying that she had been so horrible to her fans. Madonna, who was in attendance at the ceremony, took offense with John's comment and responded with a few choice words of her own. The two musicians then got into a very heated exchange, with John allegedly shouting at Madonna and Madonna responding with some well-placed insults. In the aftermath of the incident, both Madonna and John took to the press to actually address the altercation, with Madonna denying that she had been rude to John, and John accusing Madonna of being selfish and very egotistic. Bjork and a reporter at the 2001 Oscars. Bjork, while wearing a very infamous swan dress, got into a very public altercation with a reporter at the 96 Academy Awards. The incident occurred when Bjork, who was nominated actually for Best Original Song for her work on the film Postcards from the Edge, was actually approached by a reporter on the red carpet. Now, according to some eyewitnesses, the reporter asked Bjork a series of invasive and personal questions, which Bjork took issue with. She then responded by just attacking the reporter, allegedly spitting on him and calling him names. This got her banned from attending any award ceremonies, which many people have mixed emotions about.
Not every couple is meant to tie the knot, and unfortunately that can be something you realize after the ceremony. From partners trying to name new family members after mistresses to an ex breaking into your next wedding, here's some celebrities who married terrible people. Britney Spears' first marriage was short-lived, 55 hours to be exact, but has caused a lifetime of problems. I mean, sure, there's the matter of the media spinning the story to paint Britney in a negative light at every chance, but the reason this marriage is headache-inducing is because the guy is still trying to ruin Britney's life decades later. He even showed up to her more recent wedding with a weapon and had to be escorted off the property. A mess. Britney had wed a longtime friend of hers, Jason Alexander, a long time ago. Alexander claims that Britney's team was the one to annul the marriage at the time, but to get him to sign the papers, they promised the couple could get remarried after 6 months if they still felt the same way. Britney later explained her side and said that the actions were a result of a night of partying. She was trying to be rebellious, not trying to make a serious marriage union. At least that's what one can gather from her statement with E! News. She was clearly over it, but he clearly wasn't. Jason Alexander literally broke into Britney's house and got arrested over it. This happened during Britney's 2022 wedding. Jason appeared on Britney's doorstep talking about how he should be there and how Britney was his first wife and only wife. He was also live streaming the whole thing because why not? We've already leaped over the line. The live ended when Jason was arrested after a scuffle with security. Further details came from a TMZ report. The police had escorted Jason off the property, and Britney's lawyer worked with the sheriff's department to get him aggressively prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Jason was also allegedly spotted with a knife. Jason ended up being charged with trespassing and battery and was sentenced to 64 days. Up next is J.Lo, who is currently going through a divorce with Ben Affleck, but this is not about either of them. This is actually about J.Lo's first marriage with a man named Ohani Noah. Judging by his behavior after the relationship, I would guess that he doesn't like J.Lo at all. I would argue that. He wrote a book about their time together called The Unknown Truth, a passionate portrait of a serial thriller. He never got to release it though because he signed a confidentiality agreement. Writing this book actually ended up hurting him financially, as J.Lo filed a lawsuit in which she was awarded $545,000 in damages. Court documents from this case, obtained by nydailynews.com, claim that the book was going to say that J.Lo cheated on Noah. He was also forbidden from further criticizing, casting in a negative light, or otherwise disparaging J.Lo after the fact. Despite all that time in court, he actually wasn't done, because a few years after the book incident, he threatened to release private home videos of the couple on their honeymoon. J.Lo obviously didn't want that out there either and sued the man for nearly $10 million. I mean, if she didn't want things written out, why would she let videos slide? The couple was only married from 1997 to 1998. Up next, Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith. So much has happened over the past few years. The Oscars slap heard around the world, the separation, Jada revealing that she never even wanted to get married. It's a lot. The most publicized event was definitely the Oscars incident though. Chris Rock made a tasteless joke about Jada. Will retaliated and his career has suffered because of it. Since the incident, it's been revealed that the actor was under a lot of stress in his personal life. It absolutely doesn't excuse his actions, but it's an explanation. He and Jada apparently weren't together at the time. They were living separately, not divorced, just living separately for years, and this info came from her memoir, Worthy. It's been a while, but does anyone remember when the news broke that Adam Levine allegedly cheated on his wife and then allegedly almost named his new kid after the mistress? Because that was so wild. I would not believe it if I hadn't seen everything unfold with my own two eyes. Absolutely no one saw it coming because the Maroon 5 frontman seemed like the perfect husband and a true family man. He could never do something like that. He claims that he never technically did and he never had an affair and was just flirty with people online, which he recognized was still a step over the line. Either way, it's not a good situation, and it was made worse when an influencer came forward claiming to be the person that Levine was messaging. She shared her story on TikTok, providing screenshots of the conversations in which Levine appears to have called her hot, and then even more controversial, he said he was going to name his upcoming kid the same name as her. Levine ended up calling the whole situation the greatest mistake he could ever make. Levine and his wife are still married, and he seems to have taken a step back from the spotlight since. Elizabeth Moss has been married once to a comedian, Fred Armisen. Was it a good experience? Well, she described it as traumatic, awful, and horrible, so I'm gonna say no. You might recognize Fred from SNL or more recently Wednesday. He is a talented comic and impersonator, something that Moss does not deny. She actually made a statement about his talent during their split, saying, "He's so great at doing impressions, but the greatest impersonation he does is that of a normal person." Other partners of his seem to have also had bad experiences, one referring to him as a sociopath. Fred has had his chance to comment on the short marriage, admitting that he did get lost in a fantasy. He said he was kind of starstruck by Moss. I mean, she is Elizabeth Moss from Mad Men, so you get it. He did take some accountability during an appearance on the Howard Stern show when he said, "I was a terrible husband, and I feel bad for everyone I've gone out with," so he's aware. He also said he was trying to fix his patterns and went to therapy. Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis were cancelled in 2023 when it came out that they wrote letters in support of Danny Masterson. Masterson, Kutcher, and Kunis met and starred on That 70s Show together. According to the couple, Masterson was a positive presence in their life. According to the rest of the world, though, Masterson was a horrible person. He was found guilty of acting inappropriately towards 2 women and was sentenced to spend 30 years in jail. But before that verdict was reached, there was, of course, a trial. A trial in which Kutcher and Kunis penned letters to the judge handling the case, asking for leniency. They featured lines like Masterson was an outstanding role model and friend. Due to the nature of the case, the internet did not appreciate the actors' letters and called them out. Kutcher and Kunis heard and filmed an apology video. They said the letters were intended for the judge to read and not to undermine the testimony of any of the victims or traumatize them in any way, because they would never want to do that and they're sorry if that has taken place. But lots of people didn't accept their apology and still haven't forgiven the couple. Mark Wahlberg married American model Rhea Durham in 2009, but he has a surprisingly dark past. Him and his friends had a civil rights injunction issued for them in 1986. They were accused of throwing racially insensitive words and even objects towards a group of black people. 2 years later, he was aggressive towards 2 Vietnamese men, cursing at one and knocking him out with a stick. The other he just punched. He didn't know them, and he went to jail, only to be released 45 days into a 2-year sentence. 1992 rolls around, and Wahlberg's next victim becomes his neighbor. The man did have to visit the hospital after. After that, Wahlberg endorsed some anti-LGBTQ people on TV. Eventually, as we got into the late 2000s, the actor did start saying that he regretted his actions and was seeking forgiveness. Pamela Anderson's pandemic romance was a fairy tale until she realized it actually totally wasn't. Anderson was in Vancouver when the pandemic started. She is from around there. She was doing some home renovations, so there were a lot of contractors working on her property, including one, Dan Hayhurst, future husband to Pamela Anderson. Due to the year that they met, they spent a lot of time together indoors, away from other people and prying eyes, which was honestly probably pretty nice. The relationship was confirmed in September of 2020, but the pair were together long before that. They got married on Christmas Eve, obviously, a small ceremony, but a sweet one. It was clear that the couple wanted this to be forever. A source claiming to be close to the star told People that Pamela goes into everything hoping for the best. She thinks every marriage will be her last. Anderson married Hayhurst at the home she bought from her grandparents. That was also where her parents got married, so it sounded really sweet, which made the 2022 split seem kind of odd at first, until Anderson explained what was going on the inside. Sitting down for an interview with the Sunday Times in 2023, Anderson said she just came to her senses one day, that it literally just struck her. She realized that she romanticized a lot of what happened. Again, we were all stuck inside with limited contact, and for her in particular, she probably went from meeting hundreds of people a day to only being around a small handful of the same people. The actress said that one day she just realized that she was the one paying for everything, cooking, cleaning for everybody, and that wasn't what she wanted. The marriage was a disaster, and the actress even went so far as to call the whole situation stupid. She said she got caught up in the whole thing and started asking herself what she was doing. Some early signs that everything wasn't picture perfect came from the couple's joint video chat interview for Loose Women. The interview featured the couple lounging on their bed. They were asked to talk about why they were attracted to their partner. Anderson described Hayhurst as a good guy, remarked about how handy he was around the house.